Hey, welcome back everybody. Today I want to talk to you about converting a late model Fox body fuel injected engine over so it will fit in an early Mustang or an early one of the early Ford bodies. We did that with the motor that we have here, and there's a couple things on this that I want to show you. So this is a 5-liter V8, and it was pulled out of a, I don't know, late model Fox body or pickup truck or something. I'm pretty sure it was a Fox body Mustang. But so one of the things that's important to understand is that the later model balancers or the later model cranks have a different balance, and I've talked about this before. So what we have here is we have the late model 4-bolt balancer, and on the back side we have the late model flex plate that's weighted for the crankshaft. So the lower end of this engine is it's a later model, late 80s, early 90s, I believe, Fox body Mustang 302. But what we did is we took the junk E7 heads off of it and we put on some replacement aluminum heads that breathe a lot better, with big valves, the real good springs that go along with the roller cam. We put a competition cams roller cam in it. But one of the things that you have to change, so you'll notice if you're working on the later model 302 or 5-liter V8s, they don't have a provision for the mechanical fuel pump on the front cover. So we have to change the front cover. This is an aftermarket front cover that we purchased. It was about 35 bucks. And the other thing that the front cover doesn't have is it doesn't have, on the later model, it doesn't have a hole for the dipstick tube. On the early Mustang, the dipstick tube is in the front of the motor and it comes up right here. On the later model engine, the dipstick actually goes in either the oil pan in some cases or into the side of the block. Now you'll notice that this is kind of a dual purpose cover that we have here. This little plug came with it, so you can either plug this hole if you want to use this on a later model setup, and then of course you put a block off plate here, or you take the plug, which we haven't done yet, and you plug this hole with it. We've also put the fuel injection intake manifold back on, so it has a roller cam, it has aluminum heads, it has a transitionary cover, but we used the same crank, the same balancer and everything. The other thing we had to change was the pan. Now if you look at this engine over here, this is the later model pan that you're going to see in the Fox body or the pickup. It looks something like that. It has a rear sump on it. That's a 351 engine, but that's regardless of that, it's the same. If you look at the oil pan on the early one, it has a front sump, so you have to change the pickup screen and the pump, but you just get the early pickup screen and the pump is the same. And that thing bolts right in to an early Mustang or one of the Fairlanes or the Fords. So you can take these later model Fords and you can actually kind of convert them over, put aluminum heads on if you want or whatever, use the fuel injected intake, change the cover, change the pan, and this customer is going to put all of the accessories on. So these are all of the accessories that were on that engine. It has the big fuel injection intake, and he's using the serpentine belt setup. He's using everything that came off of it. Now I didn't put this stuff on mainly because I was going to put it on, but my buddy Chris, who did a swap very similar to this a few years ago, he was over here and he's like, hey man, don't put all that stuff on the front of the motor. And I'm like, well, yeah, I told the customer I was going to. And I said, why wouldn't I do that? He said, because it's not going to fit in the car that way. So he did that. He put everything on the motor, all those accessories on the front of the engine. And he had like he's a 67 Mustang, I believe. And he tried to get the thing in the car, and he said, man, it is a tight fit. It does not fit. So you want to leave all the accessories off. I know it's kind of a pain to put them on in the car, but if you're looking for the older 302, 289 engines are actually getting pretty hard to find. These engines are a dime a dozen. These 5.0s, I mean, the later model engines that came, there's pickup trucks all over in boneyards with these motors in them. A lot of cars had them. And it is a later model block, but you don't really have to worry about you know, them not working, because they work just fine. You can switch the heads. You can even put a 4-barrel intake that bolts right on if you want to run a 4-barrel, no problem. But just make sure you change the pan and all that stuff, otherwise it's not going to fit. So hopefully that gives you a little insight. I'm doing this video because I have a couple of viewers that are actually doing this swap, and I mentioned that we were doing this in an earlier video, and I had a couple of guys say, hey, when you get that thing done, make a video and kind of walk through what we need to do. It's actually pretty straightforward, pretty simple. It's not really that big of an issue. You just have to make sure that you get these things right. So hopefully that helps those guys, and just an update on what's going on here. Oh, by the way, I wanted to tell you guys, I'm going to give you guys a shot at this. So in an earlier video, you saw that 66 Chevy 1-ton truck that I put the motor in, and I thought it had a stock cam because the guy that sold me the cam on Craigslist told me, oh, it's a stock cam, you know. Turned out to be a radical cam, and it's got a rough idle. That truck is for sale. If anybody out there in YouTube land is interested in buying that truck, it's going to be a pretty reasonable price. So it is a 1-ton, it'd be a unique project. Keep in mind it does need to be fully restored, but it does have a brand new engine, or rebuilt I should say. It has a 350 in it with a pretty radical cam. The engine has almost no miles on it. It has been through the cam break-in and so forth, but if you're interested in that, leave it in the comments or get a hold of me on Facebook. I am going to be selling that truck. It's just I just have too many projects going on, and so I've got to cut that one loose. So if you're interested in restoring one of those old 66s, it is a roller. It does have an engine that runs. It has a good transmission in it. It has a drive shaft, so it's a good running truck. It just needs restoration. But the powertrain, the drivetrain, the engine is in good shape. I don't know about the rear end, the differential. I don't know anything about it. You know, I know it's working, but you know, who knows something that old. So hopefully one of you guys would be interested in that, and you can get a good deal on it, and just hit me up and let me know. We got more stuff coming up. I'm getting ready to do the Jeep 4.0 build, and I'm also getting ready to do the 390 stroker. So stay tuned. I will talk to you very soon, I promise.